super excited to be back on this show because you, my ladies, my women, like I always say, get in here. We're about to have a big conversation. Now, what's important this day is that you stay put. This year, we're giving to gain. And you remember that, when we're celebrating International Women's Day, the theme for this year was give to gain. So we're holding another woman's hand. We're supporting another woman. This year, we're not only celebrating strength, which we already possess and we know every single woman does, but this year we're also supporting each other and we're celebrating support. We're celebrating support this year. We're celebrating women who have gone out of their way to support other people, to make sure another woman smiles, to make sure another woman, is living a full life in every little way they can. Until this morning, well, not this morning, this evening, you and I are about to have another such a big conversation. So stay right here with me. Now, this show is proudly brought to you by the GC brand, Gandor Cosmetics. I mean, think about all the exciting skin routines that you need as a woman. In fact, for your entire family, GC brand has got you covered. We're going to get into that pretty shortly. But thank you so much for being a part of the show. My name is Miriam Mensah. I am too excited for this conversation because it's long overdue, guys. My guests and I have talked about meeting. We've talked about, getting on the show. We've talked about how timing has been a problem. But look at us today. We're about to get into that conversation. So again, like I said earlier, this show is proudly brought to you by the GC brand. Now, they say that tired of dealing with messy hair. Well, we've got your solution for today, introducing the new BO16 styling gel. It effortlessly holds and styles your hair, leaving no white flakes like those other gels, right? It leaves no white flakes behind. Choose from our original clear or sleek black gel to suit your style. BO16 styling gel, because your hair deserves the best the best experience when it comes to hair experience. Express yourself confidently. Available now at your nearest store. Grab yours and style with ease. The GC brand, it is all about you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my guest today is none other. Okay, let me do it this way. Because she says I overhype it. There's nothing like overhyping. It's nothing. When the person is dope, they're dope. Okay? Now, Dr. Vanessa Atikpui is a Ghanaian medical doctor and health advocate known for her dedication to public health and education and patient care. With a strong passion for promoting wellness, she actively engaged in conversations around preventive health care, lifestyle disease, and improving access to accurate medical information, especially among young people. Now, through her work, Dr. Atikpui uses both clinical practice and media platforms to raise awareness on key health issues, breaking down complex medical topics and, of course, into relatable and practical insights. She is recognized for her ability to connect with audience, making her a sought-after voice in this industry. Now, for health discussions as well, wellness campaigns and educational initiatives in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, with a standing ovation, with the rolling on the floor, with the shouting all over the place, Dr. Vanessa. AKA Dr. Yeye. AKA our... the first time I saw you was on, is it Vodafone Health something? Were you doing a Vodafone Health circle? You were not. You were never on, but you were doing a health show. I think it was on TV3.
Yes.
So I'm right.
Yes.
Because that was the most popular health show at the time.
Yes,
So
what Health Express.
Health Express. Yes. And was that your first introduction to telemedicine?
No.
That's what you call it, right?
Well, so that's not telemedicine.
That's not telemedicine.
That's more like education.
Education.
Yes.
Education.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great. So Dr. Vanessa is here. And like I said earlier, the reason we're bringing the kind of guests we're bringing on the show this season is because our guests have to be one that have had impact.
Hey.
And Dr. Yeye, please, talk about impact. She is impact, okay? And she'll come with a smile all the time.
Thank you.
Now, the smile will give her away. We're like, oh, I don't know. Oh, that is Dr. Yeye. Because the smile just give her. Now, what inspired you to pursue medicine and become a doctor? I've heard your story before about how daddy was the reason why you became a doctor.
Yes, yes.
Let me break the ice that way.
Absolutely.
But tell me, whilst you were in the very tough journey of becoming a doctor, did you get some sort of bing,
That light bulb moment that made me think that, oh, this is it.
This is it, yeah.
So I think for me, that light bulb moment was my interaction with patients.
Okay.
Moving to Ghana, I didn't study in Ghana.
Okay,
first
okay.
of all. So moving back and then practicing here, it was more or less, a lot of the patient didn't quite understand what they were being treated for. And so it limited their compliance to the management regime that we would give to them.
Yeah.
So you're looking at those with some of the non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes. They have to be compliant on medications. They have to know the risk. They have to know the lifestyle changes that have to be done to ensure that they live optimum lives. But most of the time, they just know that Dr. Seminfa Edrowe in Mefa. Yes, but they don't understand the why. Yes. And so a lot of them either default on their medications or they return with complications. And then you're wondering, how is that happening? I've asked you to take these medications. And so, of course, it's very natural or normal. If you report to the clinic and your blood pressure is maybe through the roof and I give you medications to take and then the blood pressure comes down, you definitely stop, right? Yeah. If you're not told that you have to continue, you have to do certain things like your lifestyle in terms of diet, exercise, and has to change, you will think that, okay,
a giant,
like, wasame yari, into no. You know, so for me, that also pushed me into more of the educative aspect of medicine, where we need to be more proactive instead of just, talking. People need to understand why they have to do certain things.
So just like every other issue we face here, from politics to everything, the education bit is always lacking.
Yes.
Goodness, we're going to get into that. And then that's how you thought that, I can connect to
absolutely.
This thing. I'm ready
Absolutely.
Medical school is difficult.
Tough.
It's tough. However, you didn't study in this jurisdiction. So your colleagues who did, do you see any difference between how you operate as a medical practitioner, how different you are from them? Is there any form of difference?
Well, medicine is universal, which is why when someone practicing in maybe Europe, they send you their treatment plan, you can easily follow through. Yeah. So it's a universal thing. And that's why even though I studied in the People's Republic of China. Oh. So that came with its own challenges and etc. Yes. And so, which is why even though I studied there, I can still return home and then practice medicine, even though maybe there'll be certain diseases, like maybe the tropical diseases like malaria, which is endemic in this part of town, is not the same.
It's not the same there.
Exactly. So you just have to do, it's a continuous learning process. Yeah. You can't say that, oh, I studied what you studied maybe 7-10 years ago. Yeah. There's a lot of changes. And with advancements of medicine, it's a lot. So it's a continuous process. And we basically understand the same concept. We understand the same concept. So I wouldn't say there is any much of a difference because the management plans are the same and we discuss things. So you don't work in isolation as a medical doctor. If you do that, you are bound to fail. Wow. Yes.
You definitely have to work with your team.
Absolutely.
You know how I can confirm this? I was, and again, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
Hey, nice. Me also, but Charlie.
That's another journey. Right? I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. And I do remember that there were times when I would watch movies and then The Good Doctor came up. And I'm still trying to build that love for medicine and then go into it. So very soon I could be, Dr. Mimi.
Okay. We love the sound of that. I mean, hello.
Very soon.
Yes, please.
So, whilst watching The Good Doctor, I realized that even with The Good Doctor, he had special abilities, and his bosses also did have some great skills, but they needed to work together to even make all those exciting suggestions happen. Let's talk about challenges on your journey to become this celebrated medical practitioner. What were some of the challenges you faced? Maybe we've killed the one in school, because studying in the People's Republic of China, that can be a lot.
Yes.
But also, that also a platform that, expose you to a different race and a different people. Yes. Tell me some of the challenges you face on this journey.
Um, well, I mean, so we'll start from studying medicine in a different country. The good thing about that was it was an international school. It is an international school, and so our curriculum was an English medium.
Okay.
However, we still had to study the language since you're going to be there for
Yeah.
a long period. You had to study the language, so that was extremely challenging for me because
No.
you're in a different country, different jurisdiction, different cultures. Everything was completely different. And so studying that was quite intense and difficult. Now returning to Ghana, you had to take the licensure examination, and that also involved another round of studying.
Studying. That's like how
And
many years?
Oh, so for the licensure examination, it's not years.
Okay, it's a
Yes,
couple.
it's not years. You just have to kind of prepare yourself to write the examination. But after that, you have to go into the housemanship period, which is 2 years. That's also very hectic. Now, dealing with that came with its own unique challenges for me, especially because at the time, my dad was the registrar of the Ghana Medical and Dental Council. So it was more like you're not only coming in as a foreign trained doctor, you're coming in as Dr. Atikpui's daughter. So it's more like a lot of pressure on you because it's like
You have to
you are the boss's
justify your
daughter,
inclusion.
you know.
Tell us the reason why
You deserve
you
to be
deserve
here,
not
you
because,
know.
no,
And
we put away the fact that your father is here.
exactly,
But you have to justify your
and
inclusion.
also I'm a woman.
Oh,
You know that stereotype.
Yeah.
I mean, now things have become more involving or inclusive. Although there were quite a number of female practitioners then. One, I was extremely young. I was 22, so I was extremely young. I'm a woman, and I'm Dr. Atipui's daughter. So it's almost as if the pressure on me was a lot more than just going into the medical field. And the other thing is, I didn't want to do medicine. So
why would I have to go through all
why
of
would
this?
I have to go through all
then
of
the
this
entire journey
stress?
was really challenging for you.
Yes,
then.
it was absolutely challenging for me. But at the end of the day, it had to be on my terms. I had to reconcile with the fact that you're here now. And so if you're going to actively do this, then it has to be on my terms. I'm going to show up as me. I'm going to have to change that narrative or stereotype of how a medical doctor should look. You know, so you can still have a pretty face and still be brilliant. You can still be a medical doctor and still show up fashionably. You can still be a medical doctor and be authentic.
You are killing it
So-
on all those fronts. You're killing it on all those fronts.
Yes, you can still be a medical doctor and be a woman, you know. So it was a lot of challenges, but at the end of the day, the result was I had to own it and make that space mine.
Yours, and
Yeah.
you've owned it beautifully.
Thank you.
Also, let's talk about, so once we've talked about the challenges, and from what you have said, you have gone through it, you had to understand who you were in that space, even though it wasn't the ideal for you. What was the biggest break in this career? Like, it was at this point that you said that, no, yeah, you've done this. You've done this. You did this like you actually planned to do this. Was it? And it could be several occasions or events.
Yes, I would say when I started to, I don't know, was it recognized or when I realized that my voice mattered, because I'm like, okay, I'm just basically doing me.
Medicine.
Yes, I'm just basically doing me. So when I would, I think the first time I actually got on TV show was GTV at the time. I went in the position of my boss. I think she was invited to speak on hypertension, and unfortunately it clashed with her schedule, and she asked me to go in her place. And I'm like, hey, I'm a house officer. No, it's not really exciting because
at the time,
I was a first-year house officer, and if you know what, first-year house officer is basically you are fresh. You just came out of medical school. You haven't even done 6 months.
The other bit is that you are just coming out of classroom, so you know what they taught you in
Not
class.
necessarily, because you do know what they taught you in class, one, and you're also so green, you don't know how to navigate some of these things.
Yeah.
And so the nerves, the excitement, everything in one. But after that episode, it was more like, oh, would you want to return? Would you want to have a discussion? And that moment, I'm like, okay, there's actually some impact here to be made. And it went right in line with what I intended to do, which is preventive health, health education, given some awareness to the public on what their health needs are and how to actively take care of themselves so that quality of life can be significantly improved.
Awesome. So that was how you you realized. Oh, no, we gotta do this
Yes.
now. In Ghana, you've worked on a couple of campaigns. I want to believe that some of it you knew that, oh, I had to do this
Yes.
because it's a responsibility. But there are some of those campaigns that you've been on that you like. This is me. This is something I'm passionate about. Which one is that?
So I would say the most recent one for me was the Eve medical outreach in the market. We went to Makala Market where um, we did a health screening for some of the, well, in fact, the people at the Makala Market, but it was more centered for the women. So that was more being in the field, being relatable to the individuals and actually speaking to them about their health. And that was absolutely me. I love being in the field. I love being relatable. I love speaking to individuals about, okay, let's go through this. This is what you have to do. Let's try and avoid this. You know, that was absolutely me.
You.
Yes.
And you absolutely
I
loved
absolutely
it.
loved it.
So my next question was going to be, which one do you love? But I guess that's it. We've gotten
Yes.
to that part already. Now, what key health risk do we have in Ghana that you don't think that people are, focused on, but you're personally passionate about?
For me, it would be sexual and reproductive health, especially with women.
Women and
That sits primarily on the cultural aspect. I say this because we are very secretive, we are very shrouded when it comes to our sexual and reproductive health, especially with women. We're told, oh, don't talk about contraception, oh, don't talk about sex, don't talk about even your menses, we don't talk about it. But these are issues that need to be addressed because women are going through significant life changes with each and every stage they find themselves in, pregnancy, postpartum, and it needs to be addressed. So for me, that is the part of medicine, or that is the part of healthcare that I'm extremely passionate about, sexual and reproductive health, especially among women.
Before we end the show, we're going to find out what you're doing on that now.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I see you're doing something on it. But aside work, because we've gotten into your school life, we've gotten into your work life. Aside work, what does Dr. Ye do with her free time? What is she doing when she's not doing medicine?
I sleep.
What do you do?
I like to rest.
Yeah.
I love to rest. I think rest for me is more of taking care of myself. So any opportunity that I get, I love to be intentional about my rest. And rest doesn't necessarily mean sleeping. For me, it means maybe just lazing in the couch, doing nothing the whole day, or just going to the salon, getting my hair done, getting my nails done, or going to get a massage, or simply going to get something nice to eat. I also like to cook. I like to bake, and then just be in the presence of people that I love. That is my children. Oh. Yes.
But how do you do it? So again, I see that you're able to make time, because the last time we met, you were complaining about my very terrible lifestyle, that I needed rest.
Mimi.
I'm trying to fix that. I promised you.
Good.
By the time the year will end, I will be successful at
I'll
it.
follow up.
At least you're patient. She's not patient,
I'll
you know.
follow
At least you're patient. She's not serious. But you have a, and I'm speaking from the outside, and both the outside and inside, not inside, but just knowing you.
Absolutely,
You
yes.
have children.
Yes.
You have a thriving career. You are out here doing advocacy, showing up and speaking on platforms. At least I've seen 3 places you've been this year on women empowerment.
Yeah. It's a lot, eh?
How una dey do am?
How are we doing it?
Yeah, how you doing it? How you doing it?
I've learned to say no.
Ooh.
Yes, I have absolutely learned to say no unapologetically.
Please, before you continue, I wish we were going to continue on my question, but we're going to go to how you do it. How did you learn to say no? Because you know that, and I would have left it at how did you learn how to say no? But I'm going to give you perspective. and context. In Ghana, for a human being to learn to say no,
It takes a
it
lot.
takes a lifetime. And it's difficult. Again, how did you learn to do that? And why?
And why?
And why?
Because at the end of the day, my mental health is at stake, you know? And I think when you look at it from that perspective, it changes everything for you. If you keep saying yes and keep putting a lot of things on your plate, what is going to happen is you're going to become resentful. And nobody wants a resentful person. You know, you become resentful because you feel like you are giving. One, it may not be appreciated. You're literally running on low, and there's nothing else for you to give. So I learned actually how to say no from one of my senior colleagues. She's a neurologist. I remember I was seated in her office. We're going through patient files. I was doing one of my internships with her. And, you know, she was like, you have to just say no, say it nicely, do it diplomatically. It doesn't always have to be the case. You know, patients would come to her and, you know, they would say, oh, I have this, I want an excuse duty, I want this, I want that. And you can tell that in as much as she wants to give it to them, but there has to be a tangible reason that has to be given before she allows her name, her qualifications and everything to be on that official piece of paper. Because at the end of the day, whatever it is, it's a legal document, however it is you want to see it, you know? So we got into a conversation and she said, you can say no nicely, but you don't have to be harsh. You just have to do it diplomatically. And at the end of the day, the person might not be happy, but you would leave feeling fulfilled. You also might not be too happy, but what is right needs to be done. So take, for example, let's put it in more practical terms. I'm a mother, I have a career, and maybe in a week I can be on duty 4 times in that week. And when I'm on duty at work, it's either a 12-hour shift or a 9-hour shift. So if I'm doing a 12-hour shift Monday to Friday and I have an off day on, say, Monday, Tuesday, I'm on duty back to back. And then I have an off day on Wednesday and back to work on Thursday, Friday. And someone asks, oh, I want to do this on that Wednesday. That is just the only time that you practically have. It would be nice to show up, etc., but you want to show up and show up well. And so in that moment, you have to be honest with yourself. Is this something that you can do? What is going to be the rippling effect on you? Is this something that maybe you can recommend someone else for? You know, these are questions that you have to ask yourself before jumping into it. And maybe on that Wednesday, you've planned that you're going to spend time with your kids. You're going to maybe hang out with your friends. So you look at the schedule and it's very tight. It's impossible. But for some, simply because they haven't learned to say no or because they don't want to make someone feel bad, they'll take on that extra burden. Now they're tired, but they're not showing up. And at the end of the day, you show up tired and everybody can feel it. And everybody is grumpy and now you're like, oh, but I showed up. Nobody really cares that you have so many things on your plate. You have to be intentional about your schedule, your prioritization, and how you show up. So, yeah.
I think we want to breathe on this one before we come back and see how you juggle in between your career and
family and everything that I do.
Because this one is very important, and this is why I love this show and the people we bring on this show. Because we might want to be profiling them or just having a profile conversation, but we end up picking nuggets of wisdom that guide us. Personally, I have been developed and transformed in different ways. I have evolved just being on this show, and I hope that you're learning a thing or two just to keep learning and growing, because that's what we're doing this year. If someone is pouring into you and you're not receiving, there was no pour. So in as much as we are pushing for women to give, there has to be a solid grounds to receive, and also, you know, just practically use those wisdoms and, you know, those lessons really to guide your life. We'll be right back after this commercial break. You're welcome back to the dish right here on MX24. I'm super excited. My name is Miriam Mensah. The Dish here on MX is proudly brought to you by the GC brand, and of course supported by Telecel. We're super excited. Listen, guys, I'm just too happy. This conversation was necessary. Now, this thing you said about saying no, I'll tell you something about it. But before we get into that, your money deserves the safest home with Telecel Cash. You're protected every step of the way. No risk, no worries, no long stories, just peace of mind. Dial *110# or download the Telecel Play app now for safe, secure transaction. Telecel Cash, the safer choice. Now back into the studios. My guest is already seated. She has been teaching us. The last thing she said before we went off on break was that we need to learn to say no and say it diplomatically.
Absolutely.
You don't have to wear yourself thin for everyone. Listen, everybody will be fine when you are gone. And when you don't do it, they'll find someone else to do it. And listen, if you didn't do it, not because you're a bad person, but because you needed that rest, you're not a bad person. Back into the studio, Dr. A. Let's talk about how you juggle.
How do I juggle? Yes. I have a good support system. You know, whenever I'm asked the question of, oh, how do I do it all? I have a good support system. I have intentional people around me that make sure that I get my rest. I'm my fullest. You know, I have my mom that helps with the children. I also outsource support if I need. There's no reward for struggle, and I think that we need.
No, you can't come and sit here and drop bomb on people like
Relax,
that.
relax.
Let's say that again. Let's say that again because that one can be in passing. Let's say that.
Me.
Hey, you don't know what you have signed up for this season. No, say that again.
Absolutely. There's no reward for struggle.
No.
And I think especially we as women, I'm going to use the we as women because we like to, or we have been conditioned or put in a place where we are judged, or we're judged by how much we can give, how much we can pour, how much we can do this, how much we can do that. And so naturally, we want to simply just give without necessarily figuring out how it is we're giving. And there's also that perception where the more you struggle, or the more you are seen as a good woman, in quote and unquote.
Yeah.
So there's no reward for struggle. So for me, I've learned to outsource help. So besides my mom that is hands-on with my kids, I also have a live-in nanny house help, you know, that does majority of the housework at home. And it's been absolutely amazing. I have my siblings, my brothers that are also very intentional, you know, and I'm also blessed to have someone that supports me in terms of being a partner. Absolutely hands-on, absolutely amazing. So for me, it's just about the quality of the support that I have around me that enables me to seemingly do it all. You know, so that's just simply.
You want to touch on the very detailed routine you have that helps you, you know, just live like a very productive, grounded life.
Absolutely. So it depends usually on the days. So on the days where I have work, it's simply just work. I wake up, go to work, and then return home. On the days that I'm off, I try to, as much as possible, maybe fit in some of interviews like yours.
Yes.
And then other things like housework, grocery shopping, and then self-care also. Going to the spa, getting my hair done, massages, etc. And when it comes to the kids, like I did mention, my mom is absolutely hands-on. On days that I'm off work, I take them to school, I pick them up myself, and then we do a lot of activities like maybe cooking, baking. My kids love it when I do stuff with them. Of course, kids absolutely love that. They also sleep in bed with me, etc. And I also have a driver that takes them to school and from school. So these are the things that I have tried to outsource just so that it makes sense to me and I can get my rest. So daily routine for me involves waking up, of course, having my bath, going to work, depending. If I'm off, I will decide not to have my bath the whole day.
And a lot of us do that.
Absolutely, because I'm off. I'm home.
I'm in bed. I'm not going anywhere yet. And by the way, I'm not fully awake, so technically I can't bath.
Technically,
Technically,
yeah.
I can't
So,
bath.
yeah, do activities with the kids. So it really depends on my schedule
Yeah.
for that day. Yeah, and I also like to do a lot of pre-planning.
Okay.
So if we have, I do pre-planning with my work schedule because everything has to fall in line based on my availability after the schedule at work is drawn. So it's simply just that.
Amazing. And so you know that she really isn't doing it all by herself. No, it's now her catch her own say, he does this all, I can do it all. No.
No.
Get help if you need.
Can't.
Get help if you need. My son and I one time decided that we cannot accommodate a third person in our home. We're not sure because he had a very terrible experience. I mean, it wasn't directly, to him. It wasn't on him, but one of his best friends, when he was growing up, had the sister, be put in a very difficult position by a help. From that time, my son has never been comfortable with a living help. And so we've made that decision that since we don't have help, we're going to be like,
No, I mean, absolutely. I think it's important one thing I would also put out there is it's important to do what works for you.
Absolutely.
You take inspiration from people and then try to see how it works for you. But
works.
don't go copying someone.
Just because
For me, I'm privileged to have a live-in help because my mom also lives with me.
Yeah.
So it makes things easier.
So you cannot.
So it's not just
you're
the
not
kids with
No. Yeah.
Hey. Yay.
No mother is comfortable doing that now in 2026.
No.
See too many things happening in the world.
We
and
see
people
too many things, worried about too many things. So it's important that you do what works for you. For me, I have the luxury of going to work and my kids are home with my mom and the house help.
Yes.
So it's easier.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking about it. If I did not have my mom with me, it would have been impossible to be of sound mind working with knowing that my kids are at home by themselves with the house up. No, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
And I don't
you
think...
probably have 2 million cameras and still be worried.
Yeah. You know, you can have all the cameras in the world, but at the end of the day, I keep saying that you can have all the cameras in the world, but by the time the incident would have already happened,
you are coming to see the problem happening, but then you are not there to make it, to stop it. So it's a very...
So I sit from a place of privilege, which I am not ashamed to admit or even feel bad about, because it affords me the luxury to do the things that I do and affords me the luxury to be there for my children as much as I can and in full. So if you don't feel bad about what you do as a mother to ensure that the safety, integrity, and you yourself, the well-being of yourself is put at a priority. Like, don't be bothered by what anybody says. Because at the end of the day...
But you have to be a mother to know that there are certain things that don't matter.
I agree with you.
It's not that you gave birth, though. You have to be a mother.
Completely.
To shut out.
And we mother in different ways.
And that's what our mothers were doing at the time when they would rather wear, what they wear to make sure and they didn't care what people were saying. This is it. We might not do it like that because we want to slay. But yeah.
and to be honest, times are different because I was having this conversation also with someone the last time. Back in the day or our mother's times, there was communal support. Now we're more isolated, let me put it that way.
Individualism.
It's taken over because we are very more nuclear as compared to how we grew up. I grew up in a home with my cousins and aunties, but now it's just me, my kids, my mom. It's very nuclear, and that is how majority of the homes are. And also, we're looking at migration. Lots of the women are moving out from where they grew up. Probably, maybe if you grew up in Kumasi, you've come to Accra, or you've traveled abroad. So the dynamics are absolutely different. The challenges are different, but it all boils down to doing what is best for you with the resources you have available. Absolutely. Don't break yourself simply trying to prove a point. In fact,
they don't honestly, genuinely don't care.
Yes.
And you shouldn't care either.
Absolutely.
Anywho, well, back to the things that you are doing. Do you have any upcoming projects, things you're working on, especially with the things that you love to do? Women's health.
Yes. So Eve International, we are basically women centered, we're basically women focused. And just last year in December, we had the opening of our wellness center in Kumasi.
Oh,
Yes, so,
but why Kumasi though? You went so far.
hey, question, yeah, will be
Question.
some me.
Where they here no? No, but again, it's a very it's a thriving space. People don't know this. Kumasi is Accra Pro Max, right? But I think someone would say that I do always be Accra, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why did you again? It establishes something that people always have about you. It's not your normal, your regular doctor. So
Well, so
it
I
cements that.
think first of all, it also starts with the availability. Lady Julia is Her Royal Highness Lady
Yes,
Julia
yes.
is our life patron,
Yeah.
and the access or the accessibility to put up a wellness center, you're looking at access to land, space. You know, these are things that were the logistics of everything that goes into putting up a center. And in terms of availability, Kumasi was readily available. Yes, so the center is just on the campus of KNUST. Yes. So we partnered with them and we're able to do some of research, you know, have some of their human population also have their human resource, access to their human resource.
Yes,
So
yes.
it made more practical sense
does.
setting up in Kumasi
does.
for the first center, and then we move out into the other regions.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, when you think impacts, Doc, with your current position, whether it's with Eve or just your daily hospital
Rounds, yeah.
rounds and then television, what impact are you looking at leaving on the minds, the hearts, and in the faces of Ghanaians and the people around the world? What would impact look like to you?
For me, impact would look like lasting, lasting footprints. You know, not just conversations. I want to be remembered for my authenticity and being able to influence positively, especially in the space of sexual and reproductive health, as well as first aid and then initial response to health emergencies.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so now you know what impact looks like to her. So after Dr. Yeye has gone, moved to the Maldives for her retirement, she wants you people to know that this is what she's doing. Very important. Okay, so keep that in mind. But finally, first of all, before we do my final question, this has been really, really good. I was
Thank
looking
you.
forward to this. I have been looking forward to this.
Yes, we've been having conversations.
We have. Anytime we meet each other, we accuse each other of neglect.
Yes.
Like you don't call me. You don't want to come on the show. We have to talk about it. We have to time and everything, but we've finally done it. So 2026 looks like a good year for both of us.
Absolutely.
Because this has been, one of the things we wanted to cross out of our, our way, but we've done it. Yes. And so thank you so much for showing up. Someone was watching this morning, a young girl, she says, I love Dr. Yeye. When she saw the promo, she said, no, I'm going to watch this interview. I want to know her. And I want to now be a doctor. But the kind of doctor, because when I was growing up, I said I wanted to be a doctor. And then I said I wanted to be a doctor like Nana Banama. Where in this world was Nana Banama a doctor? That's when my father realized that, doctor, maybe a baby, but journalist, na Claudio Peso. Do you get what I mean? So he told me that, no, this is not a doctor. She's a journalist. She's not a nurse. She's a journalist. And that's when I got the name for the people that were sitting on television.
Right.
And then I went for that. But then I had that back of my mind that I'm becoming a doctor, but I don't know what kind of doctor this one is. And so for someone watching this evening, they're saying that I've watched Dr. A, I've followed her, I want to be like her, but I want to be
a doctor.
A doctor. What would you tell them?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's a scam. That's on a lighter note. No, absolutely. I mean, being a doctor is fulfilling, but you have to know your why. And of course, you're not going to know your why immediately. It's a profession that you grow into, because at the end of the day, what makes the difference is how you relate to your patient and the impact that you leave with your patient. Medical school is not one of the schools, or our grading systems is not one of those that you come with first class upper, first class lower. How do people even do it? Lower class, second class,
class
those
upper.
things. We don't do that. It's either a pass or a fail. Because at the end of the day, your pass is the impact you have with your patients. So it's being a doctor, I would love for any young girl, any young man looking or watching to want to be a doctor, but understand the why. What do you want to be? What kind of doctor do you want to be? What kind of impact do you want to have in the life of your patients? And once you understand or know your why, it makes it easier.
Makes it easier. Knowing your why is so important
Absolutely.
in everything you're doing. If you're just showing up, suffering, struggling, hoping that some miracle will come out of somewhere and make you a superstar, and because you've heard that, there's no pain, no gain, you've gone through so much pain, and you still don't understand your why, please take a seat, take several seats, and think about it. Think about what you're doing. Understand that all of these things we do, or these women that show up here, they understood their why. And that's why we will have them in this couch or in this seat talking about your story. Dr. A, thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Mimi.
so much for
It's
coming.
always a delight.
I know. One of those few
Being
people
and seeing with you.
our friendship is really cute, right?
Yeah?
Yeah, because we don't do too much. We show up when we can. I use,
We can come and
we
kill
can
ourselves.
kill
Who
ourselves.
said that? Who said
But
that?
this year we're going to try. We're going to
We'll
to
try.
have
This
dinner
year. We
and
have to.
And we have to have lunch dates. And
It's a
also,
sign because we've met twice this year already.
This year
and
already.
it's not even half the year.
if
so we
do-
have to. Like
we
we
meet
have
the third time, it's over.
It's over. The universe is trying to tell us something.
Absolutely. But thank
We
you
have
so
to
much
be
for coming. I
intentional.
have
Thank
absolutely
you.
loved this
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you
And I know
too.
that you have to, and I hope you've learned. I always ask you that I hope you've learned a thing or two, because we're learning and growing together this year. And I want to say a big thank you to the GC brand. Now, they're asking if you're tired of dealing with messy hair. We've got your solution right here. Introducing the new BO16 styling gel. It effortlessly holds and styles your hair, leaving no white flakes behind. Choose from our original clear or sleek black gel to suit your style. BO16 styling gel, because your hair deserves the best. Express yourself confidently. Available now at your nearest store. Grab your style up with ease, and the GC brand says that it is all about you. This has been a dish here on MX24. My name is Miriam Mensah. My guest has been Dr. Vanessa Atikpui. And I've loved every bit of it. Do connect with us on all social media platforms. The Dish on Instagram, but of course, MX24 on all social media platforms. Let's keep learning and growing together. See you again. Mwah!